So I've bounced back from kind of a feeling blow. The problem I ran into is I was super successful in the insurance industry when I first started. I was working at a call center, 21st Century, and I was selling just hundreds of policies a month. I think some months I sold over 260 or 280 policies, and lots of good things came of that. Lots of good income, lots of good potential. It got me in the industry, but the problem is I fell when I left Farmers. I went over to an independent agency, and I did good there as well. I averaged about 30,000 a month in premium, which is a little bit different than the policy count. So in our world, about $1,000 to $1,200 in our state in Michigan is common. That's what we would normally sell insurance for. So, 30,000 divided by 1,200, whatever that is, that's basically the number of policies I sold. The problem that I had was it was going from it's kind of like going looking at all different types of technology. One does one thing, one does another, and you bounce between them all. It's the same thing with sales. Is I went from selling all auto for 5 years to selling auto and renters for 6 months, and then auto renters and home, and then toys and boats and cars. And that was still at 21st Century. So that was kind of like the end of our thing. We became Farmers. And from there, selling everything, right? Going off on your own and doing it all. And then leaving that to where I am today, where I run and own an agency. And now we also sell everything. So as you take this path, the thing I wanted to just kind of point out is this week and this last couple weeks have really shown that I can do it again. It's been a while, and I think the biggest thing, it's hard to open this type of stuff up because writing $1 million in a year or close to $1 million in a year to writing 300 to 400,000 in a year and getting paid differently because there's different pay at those levels, to writing very little in a year. So far this year is going to be decent but not amazing, because of all of the growth. Like I've got a partner, but so that helps offload a lot of the work. But I'm doing more of the IT, the training, the finances, like budgeting the finances, and doing all of those pieces of the place, and a lot of the media content and things like that, because that's kind of my world. So a lot of that, and I'm actually not even doing all the media. I'm doing like half or even some of the media. So it's like it's kind of been broken up between the two of us. But where's the room for selling? Right? So there's so much things, and all of the tech and the CRMs and all of that, and like trying to mix that all in. That's a different world than just going on the phone and selling. Like honestly, I think if I would have just gone on the phone and selling, I probably should have in the beginning, that I would be 3 times as far as I am today as far as premium than I would have been if I building this, because we're building a legacy, right? We're building an actual company that's going to have employees, that's going to have almost like a large footprint, and not just in Michigan, but we're probably going to branch out long term. The 10-year plan is to be in multiple states where we can insure all these states and things like that, and tied with technology, tied with not working on the cheapest price. We're focused on value stuff. So there's a lot going on, as you can see up here, right? So it's like switching those hats on can almost get depressing. And that's what I wanted to mention to you guys is like, okay, so how do you fight that? How do you beat that mentality of, it used to be when I would train people is you've got your underwriting hat, you flip it over, you've got your salesman hat, and you flip it over and you got your service hat. That's all a real agent should focus on unless they want to build an agency. And for me, I've got my marketing hat, I've got my social media hat, I've got my salesman hat, I've got my networking hat, I've got my manager hat, I've got my service hat. I mean, there's like 30 hats you got to wear when you're on the other end of that. And that's actually what's exciting to me. That's actually kind of the neat thing about it. But then I've got income in and outside of the company. So I've got like other things that I just can't drop everything at once because it's just like a deck of cards. It's just going to fall over. So how do you get through things like that? One, as a sales agent, if that's most of the people that I would assume are listening to me here, but two, as a sales manager, owner, how do you grow with a team of people? And I would say as a sales agent, the biggest thing that I can tell you to do, and the thing that I found has always gotten me out of a rut, is really two things. There's like probably 30 things, but two main things. One, have a baseline. Not in sales, not numbers. I'm talking like know your words and be comfortable when you're talking to customers. That's the biggest thing. You got to understand your policies, just like anything. You got to know your product and understand the situations of people, more so the people than as much of the situations. The situations are going to change all the time, and the people really kind of only, there's a few different categories, as they call them, of people that have different personalities, right? Everyone's different, but there's your analytical people, there's your emotional, there's your more aggressive, like I don't have time, that type of person, the what they call an eagle. And then you have your analytic, like there's 4 or 5 different molds for different types. So learn those pieces, understand who and what you're talking to, not just to respond, but to know what they're interested in, to know what makes them tick and why they would want you as an agent. So that's the biggest thing I would say that's going to make you successful. Knowing that, but the baseline is also maybe scripting. So no, I have it stuck in my head because I've written the scripts in the past and they've really all based off of the same precedents, is basically filling out the data, connecting with somebody, finding a way to educate them, right? If you can find a quick, easy, simple script, then you don't have to worry about anything else. They hang up on you, great. Pick up the phone. Who's the next guy? Hey, Joe, this is Mark over, at blah, blah, blah insurance. Just wanted to call, click. Okay, great. Hey, Joe, this is Jill. This is Mark over at insurance. Oh, yeah, I am interested. Awesome. And then I go into that, hey, well, let me just verify some information, and then you just go through it, right? So knowing that, that's the baseline, is always have something to go back on, because what's going to happen and what you should be doing is when leads change, when customers change, when networking changes, people respond differently in different times. I've noticed that over the economy. The tougher a lead is, or the cheaper that typically it's based on price, because they make you pay for the high premium, right? The less filtered a lead is, we'll say it that way, the more rugged, price focused they are. And yeah, I win those. My cheapest policy I've written to date is 6 months for $270 or $277, I think, for 6 months total. Just a PLPD vehicle. Actually, it might even have full coverage on that one. But that was easy. Like, here's the price, it's $270. Well, yeah, here's the pay in full. Boom, done. Right? That's a simple way to do it. But when I get down to has 2 motorcycles, has a nice car, maybe owns a home, or maybe lives with somebody that owns a home. Like, what's that scenario look like? Do I spend my time and invest it into that type of person? So as you learn that, your script and your talk path will change, because those leads will turn into better leads. And maybe you've done so many of them that you're only working with the better ones. Over time, you're just going to start working with better and better leads, because you don't have time to deal with the lower quality or lower filtered leads. And so as you do that, you're going to shift the way the script and the talk path is, because it's a different type of person. But eventually it may change and it might shift. So you've got to know that you've got that base, that quality of what always worked without skill, right? What was that baseline? And then so that's the first thing. Always have a base to go back to. Got my energy drinks. Second piece is energy drinks. All day long, coffee and energy. If you don't, you're not a salesman if you don't got coffee and energy drink. Let me know in the comments if you guys drink coffee or not. I am 3-4 cups a day. I limit 1 energy drink a day because it's got basically 2 cups of caffeine in it. And then on some days it's light. I'll do a cup in the morning. I'll do a decaf at night, and I'll have 1 after lunch. Right, so 2 to 3 cups a day. Sometimes 5, sometimes 7. The third piece, besides coffee and energy and the drive to get going, is the last piece, which is have a progression. So whether you want to call it a progression chart, a plan of action, a whatever fancy word the company that you were at last called it, there's different versions. An activity tracker, that's a really good one. Yes, they're all technically different, but they all do the same thing. So an activity tracker is, and maybe I'll draw it here in a second, But activity tracker is something that you set your own goals. And maybe the company that you work for is going to set them for you, but know what you were trying to achieve, and if it aligns with theirs. If it doesn't, why are you there? Like, if you can't hit the marks that they're saying, look for something that you can. If you can, or you want to go over what they're saying, like let's say I want a new set of tires on my car this winter. It's coming up, but I need an extra $700. In that case, I need to set my goals above to make those extra commission checks. How much more do I need by X amount of date? How much time do I have to do it? How many calls do I have to, how much premium do I have to sell to get to that level? And how many dials or how many people do I have to connect with to hit that number? It's pretty basic. You work backwards. But if you don't have a path to go, you might as well jump in a Ferrari, sell your house, sell everything you got, put all the money in, buy a Ferrari, get it right, pull out of the dealership, and right before you pull out of the dealership, I want you to put a blindfold on and then just go, and then get home. It's never going to happen. If you don't know where you're going, then you're never going to have. Can you fall and fail? And if the company has, like, you're bouncing around like I picture like a ping pong or a foosball table or something, there's walls? Could you? Sure. But you're going to be at the end, you're going to be miserable. You won't know where you're going, why you're going there, if it's even worth going to. Are you just clocking in, doing the minimum, clocking out? Then you might as well work at someone that just pays the salary and never have to deal with it. If you're trying to build an income or trying to build a lifestyle, then you need to know what your plan is. What does 10 years look like from now? We just drew out a map of what our organization looks like in 5 years. And there's like 40 or 50 people in our organization by the end of this 5-year plan. So if that's the plan, honestly, I think most people, especially if you're new and you're watching this and that's not your goal, because that's a lot different path that I'm going down. And my partner and I are on the same page, which is amazing. It's hard to find that. That's a big different path. I think what I would say 90% of you that watch this, let me know in the comments below which one you are. But 90% of you watching this just needs you, one service or half service, and one other sales, maybe 2. So 4 people would make your life a bliss. If you could yourself get to a $2 million book of business, pay $30,000, $40,000, I don't care, 60, whatever you got to pay the service person to be good, and that can maintain and retain that business. And you can have 1 to 2. I would prefer 2 to be safe in case one quits. But have 2 salespeople that do it with you. Now that 2 million turns into 3 every year, it turns into 4, turns into 5, and then it slows down. 6 and 7 start to get a little tougher. And you're 10 years down the road to where you don't even have to work. You don't even have to come in anymore. They're making 80, 90, 120,000 a year, each of them. You're making 200 a year. Service person's making a good income for the activities based on pay them what they're worth, right? And that's it. Like, you're good. If they quit now and you just leave the service person and you've got another decade of making that income. You'll make that plus their salary. So you'll make $300,000-$400,000. Now you can invest it, right? That's like the perfect scenario for most people. But it doesn't matter which way you go, whether you're starting a company. If you're already running it, you're not going to do the activities. You're going to train people to do those activities. So you've got to sit down and map what your process is to get to those levels. So I'm going to show you just a quick example of what I'm talking about. Because just saying it, I'm more of a visual person. I got to kind of see it sometimes. Ignore all my mess, whatever. So if your goal is to write, let's just say 40,000, right? In all truthfulness, you're secretly saying to yourself, I really want to write 30. But if I say 30, I'm going to write 20. And so we're going to say our goal is to write 40. And one of the rewards for it, you got to create rewards for different levels. So once you hit 3 months of 40, you're going to get tires, right? Buy tires for the winter. Once you hit $500,000, or let's just say 650,000, you're going to celebrate whatever you're going to do. Right? Once you reach, $1.5 million, you're going to lease a new vehicle. Leads to Tesla. I don't know. Whatever you want. Like those are separate. Like that has nothing to do with the activity tracker, but that's also a reason like you have to have some small stepping stones for you to be excited to go there. So if my goal is to do 40,000 and I break that down, now ours is averaging 12 to 1500 in Michigan, but let's just say for ease of sake, so this is going to look worse than it should be. Let's just divide it by 1,000 per policy. So if you sell a home for 1,500, but you sell the auto for 800, that's 1,000 each policy on average. If you sell the renters for $300, but the auto's 1,700, that's still 1,000 per policy average, right? So your average policy per is $1,000. You can do the math. You need 40 policies a month to hit that 40,000. Okay, well, how am I going to sell 40 policies? I know if I'm dialing leads, let's say I'm going to pay, $1,000 to get leads a month. Okay, that's going to take up 3 hours of your day at least, just dialing and working them and doing all that. So just keep in mind, money versus time. That's a totally different video. So I'm doing 1,000 leads. That's probably half of your time. So that's probably 50% of it, right? Because you want to break it up into long-term plans. So like you don't want to just do leads only and call it a day. Because leads dry up, they get crappy. Sometimes leads don't fill things out. Sometimes you get scammed. So there are different, like leads can be amazing or they could be the worst thing you ever did. And it takes time. You got to call them 14 times. I just sold a first call close, but it was the 6th phone call that I made to the person. I just did that on Friday. And we sold 2 motorcycles and a car, which was awesome. She loved it. It was a great fit. It was a better policy than what she had. We upped a lot of coverages, and I actually still saved her money at the end. So that's cool, right? That's the perfect scenario story that we're talking about. But in this case, if I'm buying 50% of my time in leads, where's the rest of it coming from? Because I know if you track this correctly, if I'm an average of a third of a contact, so I'm buying $1,000 worth of leads, let's just say they're $8 a piece. So let's just say they're 10 to make it simple. So I'm getting basically 100 leads, $100 a month. So we're basically getting 5 leads a day. All right, I can tell you my stats. So the stats that right now, actually I got them pulled up so I can tell you my stats. It's November 12th today. So from the start of November, I have gotten 43 leads. I forgot to log some of the quotes, so I've done probably, it says 12% quote, but it's probably closer to 20% quoted, maybe 25%. Because it says I'm 260% for a quote to sale, which is not right. Because it's time, right? I quoted people last month that are buying this month, and I quoted people 3 months ago that are just now getting back to me and saying I am still interested. The automation got them, and I'm internet lead to sales 30%. Now that's based on the product, not the client. So it's not household, it's products. I am averaging 1.88 policies per account. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but that's where I'm at. So I know I need to do 30%, whatever that case is, or 20%, or whatever the case. So let's just make it simple. I'm not going to get in too far into what my numbers are. But we've got 40 policies, and half of them are coming from leads. We're getting 5 a day. Let's just say I'm getting 10 sales to 15 sales out of that. So we're just going to say 10 sales. Let's just go hard. Let's just make it hard on ourselves. So 10 sales from leads. All right, and that's actually only 5 a day is only going to take you about an hour and a half a day. And my COIs, so I'm working with either a mortgage broker, or I'm working with a realtor, or I'm working with just someone that's relocation specialist. I'm working with a roofer. I'm working with all these people, and they send me, let's say I can somehow drum up 20 leads out of that. The reason this looks way worse is because this is supposed to be, if you're not good, you're 60% sale rate. So in our case, you're probably 75%. And you're going to sell about 13-ish policies here. You've got 10. So we've now got 23 sales. We're not even close to our goal. So we need to either up our leads or up our COIs. Maybe we need to go more networking. Maybe we need to go more lead gen and do our own ads. Maybe you need to make a Facebook or a YouTube. I get hundreds of leads a month from YouTube. So there's a ton of different ways that you can market that. Let's just say 30K is our goal. That's what we're really shooting for. And I'm going to get 10 leads, 10 sales from internet leads. I'm going to get, we'll say, 15 from COIs. And I'm going to get from social media, miscellaneous, social. I'm going to get 5 from the rest, right? Because that's what it takes if we're doing the 1,000. Granted, your state might be higher, might be lower. Ours is 12 to 1,500, so I don't even need to do a third of all of this. I only really need 8 leads and 12 and like 3. So in my case, it's easier. And that's simple. So I can say that I'm going to get 30 sales at $1,000 a piece. That's 30 grand a month. I'm good. If I go over it, great. I've got extra. I can work that into next month, whatever the case is. But work at one more level. So in order to get 10 sales, I have to call 100 leads / 5 a day. I have to talk to 5 leads. COIs, I need to talk to 20. If I'm at a 75%, so 15 divided by 0.75 is 20. That's 20, and then divide that by the 20 days. So I really need to quote 1 a day. Miscellaneous, whatever the case is, that's just kind of its own thing. It's just going to come in. I'm on social media for 2 hours, 2 hours in groups. We'll just put that as the easy way. In groups, adding a lot of activity, getting people to go quotes with us, getting direct messages, hey, I can help you, that type of stuff. So these are the quotes I have to do a day. I can go one more level and I can say if I'm doing 5 a day, at least 5 quotes a day or 5 leads a day, that means I'm going to have to call probably about 30 people a day. I have to call the 1 a day because that's what's coming in. And I have to do 2 hours a day. Boom. There is my activity tracker to every single day. Now, if you want to get more detailed, you can break it up into Monday. I'm doing at 9 a.m. I'm doing dials. That's the 3 hours that we're doing. We're calling those leads. If I need to up it, I can now do, instead of from 9 to 10, I can do 9 to 12. So now I'm just crushing it, right? I'm doing 100 dials a day instead of 30 because I need to get those leads in more, right? I'm going to run out of them, but I'm going to go back and call the ones that I didn't follow up on. I'm going to day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 14, day 30 again, day 30 again, day 30, 2 years from now, day 30, right? I'm going to call them until I either get them or they just tell me they're not interested, and then I'll work it from there. So you can break your day up, and then Tuesday, maybe it's you're going every Tuesday, you plan on going out to meet with COIs. So you schedule from 9 to 10 is 1 COI. You bring them coffee, whatever the case is. From 10 to 11 is another one. You really just set up appointments, or maybe you do conference calls, maybe you do voicemails. And then eventually this will slow down because you'll get too busy. The COIs will start giving you leads that you can work with. So then it's just maintaining that relationship once every couple weeks or every month so that you're always in front of and always giving value to that COI that you're working. This is what I mean by action plan. The biggest piece is this guy right here, is to know what you're going towards. So what I'm going towards is my goal is to get to this 650K or this 250K to buy these tires. Right? I got to get there. So how do I get there? I do the map. I divide it by 12 months. I divide it by a month. I work out what I've got to do. I work out my action plan. So this action plan is really what this is. And then I just implement it. And it can be boring, right? Because every day, but you get in that groove. And once you start getting some of these people where you get 2, 3 a day that are on the phone, 7 hung up, but 2 of them let you talk, you feel good. Like you sold one right away. Like I sold one first call close on that day 6. And then I get one of these come in the door, and I sell that within a couple days. But I still have another one from last month. And it just compounds to where people come to you over time to where eventually you're getting all of this business coming back and you're hitting these goals. Once you've done this, you literally can take this plan and you could tell this to someone else. You could train this to an agent. It's not that difficult to do. Now, each person's different, so different people will work different ways. One guy doesn't like to hunt and kill, right? One guy, that's what they call it for those that work leads, you have to be wanting to hunt. Because if you don't want to hunt, but you just want to kill, or you just want to have the leads fed to you, that's a different story. I actually have to be in the owner, work with the lead company. Every week we talk about it. These are bad. These were good. This is what happened. Where did our sales come from? Let's do more of that. Let's try a different plan. Let's move on and move forward. There's a lot going on here. Hopefully this isn't confusing. Let me know, you guys. What are the three? I'm curious to find out, what are the three methods, or are you just doing one method that's working really well? This doesn't also, by the way, include you using the current business. This is like day one, what you should have at least mapped out. I get it, you don't have the numbers, and if you don't, I can give them to you, what mine are. But after the fact, now you've got referrals. Never give those up. And you got reviews. Never not ask for those. Just always, always, always ask for a referral. Every sale, every quote. If you quote someone, ask them if they know someone else that they would be interested in getting a quote too. Ask for a review every sale that you make. And tell them what I tell them. If they don't like the service that you gave them, give me a referral and I'll treat them worse than you so you feel better. Right? So just ask them for those things at the end of this. And for the monolines, you're going to start working a monoline list. So if you just sold auto only, home only, you're working with the mortgage broker and they only needed the home. Customer wasn't ready to buy the auto yet. That's fine. We kept the relationship alive. We sold the home only. In 6 months, we might reach out, or even in a couple weeks, we'll do a review with them, and we'll say, hey, we really should combine these. You're going to get a 20% or whatever percent off if I can do these together, right? So we'll work our monoline list. We'll work our customer referrals. We'll start working people that have questions, and they're going to add cars and different things like that. So these are like the extras, and you're going to get a couple extra policies every single month coming from this once you've built a few $100,000 worth of business. Or if you're really good at it, you're going to get one every single time, and you're going to start increasing the conversion rate that you have on things like this 30 a day. You might only start doing 20 because you're working on all of the referrals that they're giving you. Like I said, I hope this was helpful. I am very curious for you to tell me in the comments. Let me know what you guys are doing. If you are finding better success with more referrals, I mean, everyone should be, but are you working 3 different methods, or have you found one to work really well? Have you seen it collapse before, and was it worth it? So I'm curious to know where you guys are, but also if you have other questions in general, let me know in the comments below too. I'd love to answer them, or even make a video that helps you with that as far as the way I'm doing it. I'm not saying mine is the end all be all. And there are people that are doing the 100Ks. And honestly, in my opinion, they're just doing this times 10. They're just buying a crud ton more leads, or they're getting live transfers. But the cost is triple and quadruple. Is the return better? Absolutely. But it depends on where you're at financially as far as where you're budget-wise and what you can do. Anyways, let me know. I'm curious. I'm Mark W. Flockhart. I'll see you soon.